Have you ever had one of those weeks where you work your butt off, grinding all day, working late nights, only to wake up on a Friday thinking, wait, what did I actually achieve this week? You answered emails, you updated your website, you posted on Instagram, you checked a million boxes, but deep down, you know you've just been spinning your wheels. I've been there, you've been there. I think every business owner out there has been there. So today we're talking about why this happens and how to get out of that cycle without adding more hours to your already full plate. Because if we don't take the time to stop and look at what's really going on, we end up wearing ourselves out without ever getting where we want to go. So let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the Her Business podcast. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at Her Business, and today we are talking about that sneaky, exhausting trap of constant busyness, the kind of busyness that doesn't actually get you anywhere. If you've ever looked up from your to-do list and you've thought, I feel like I have so much to do, but none of it is actually making me money, then this episode is for you, my friend. We are going to get into how we fall into this trap of being busy all the time, why so many of us might actually feel more comfortable in this busy work mode, and I know I'm guilty of that, and we'll discuss the systems and habits that can help you shift into making real, measurable, fulfilling progress without working longer hours. So first up, why the heck do we do this? Why do we get into this cycle of spinning our wheels and being in this I'm busy but I'm not actually making progress kind of trap? It's actually extremely common amongst small business owners. But why is that? Well, it quite literally comes from the job of being a small business owner. It's kind of a side effect of juggling everything. When you are responsible for so much, you end up stuck in the little tasks that don't move the needle. And if you don't sort through that and get to what is important, you could find yourself trapped in that place for months, even years, and find that that is the way that you operate. Now, one big sign that a woman business owner is going to get stuck here is if she has a lack of clarity for the direction in her business. I've seen this so many times. When you're not really sure what the most important task is, what your vision is, what the big goals are that you're moving towards, then everything feels urgent. So you're constantly reacting, constantly dropping the ball in order to pick up the little pieces. Another why is a lack of boundaries. So with calls, messages, clients, and pings from your team, it can get to the point where you feel like you have to be on 24/7. That you as the business owner are running the show, so you have to be available all the times, but that's just not sustainable. Just because you can be available all the time, that does not mean you should be. Another big why this happens is the validation we get through busyness. It inherently feels good when you're able to tick tasks off your to-do list, when the end of your day still has lots of little things that you need to get done. And I think we can wear it as a little bit of a badge of honor, but being busy isn't a badge of honor. Not really, not in the long term. It's actually a sign that you're not being super intentional with your time. It's a sign that you might not be energized by the things that really matter and facing the difficult tasks that actually move your business forward. And it can be a sign that you are constantly maxing yourself out. Now, busy isn't the same thing as productive. Busy isn't moving the needle. Busy isn't making money and time freedom for yourself. But oftentimes we find ourselves in this spot because we have to wear all the hats in the business. You're running the marketing, you are serving clients, you're managing the books, you're replying to DMs, you're fiddling with that dang Canva design. It's a lot. No wonder you feel stretched. No wonder you're not thinking about the next big step or how to scale. No wonder you don't have the capacity to think about creating more passive types of income because you're in a cycle of work, busy. Now, the scariest part is often we don't even realize how deep we are in this loop until we burn out, until we hit a wall that we can't come back from easily. So that is why I'm so glad that you are listening today, because you are choosing to stop and step back and assess how you are really spending your time. So let's talk about the whys. I know you might be thinking, Susie, we just talked about the whys. The lack of clarity, you said, the boundaries, you said, the wearing all the hats, you said. But there's a deeper level here that I want to touch on. Now, this one might be uncomfortable to talk about because there are deeper reasons why we end up stuck in a trap of spinning our wheels. And let's talk about a few of them that I've seen both in myself and in other women. One of those is the fear of being seen. Yeah, maybe that one hits hard for you. It does for me. Are you holding back, sticking to busy work, sticking to the books because you're afraid of visibility? Because if you get your head out of the busy work, out of the administration, then what are you left to do? What is make those big moves? And what if people judge you for making those moves? What if you fail at those moves? What if you succeed and then the expectations grow exponentially? What if people think, wow, look at her go. Maybe she's out of her depth. This is a fear of being seen, and it is a tough one. I can't tell you how many times I have meant to film a reel or record a video, but ended up writing non-urgent emails instead, or doing a budget, or picking up some task that is just some way of procrastinating being seen. Let me know if you can relate. So this could manifest for you in all types of ways. Maybe you've been stuck in one-on-one work for years and you have plans to create a course to put your knowledge and expertise in one place or to start to make an income from this course. But you don't make it. You keep working on your one-on-one work. You never move to that one-to-many work that you want to do. You find that your schedule has just been filled up, so there's no time to record that course. And I'm just using a course as an example. There's no time to put it all together. There's no time to plan to launch it. This is an example of the fear of being seen because you're hiding away with work that you are comfortable with, work that is easy for you. Even though that work may not be exciting for you, just doing something might represent forward motion, but it's not really. So if you're afraid to be seen, if you're afraid to be seen trying, then that fear could be holding you back and causing you to spin your wheels and stay in that business cycle. So next up, I want to talk about another underlying fear that keeps us spinning our wheels, and that is one I have down pat. That one is perfectionism. The fear of moving forward before everything is just right. The fixation on the smallest of details that prevents progress. I think that there can be value in a little perfectionism. I really do. We want our stuff to be good. We want it to be excellent, right? We want to feel proud of it. And details do matter. But there is a cap to this. Are you using perfectionism as an excuse from moving forward? Are you hiding in the minutiae, your view so zoomed in that you just don't need to worry about the big picture because who has time? There's a comfort in that perfectionism, right? There's some simplicity. If I can trick my brain into thinking that all there is to worry about is the exact hue of my Instagram post, that's not the worst thing to stress about, is it? If we can get lost in perfectionism in the details, then we don't have to face the big stuff, the serious stuff, the what if I fail, the next big step stuff. All of that goes away when we get distracted by the little details. So is it perfectionism or is it procrastination or is it both? Now there's another reason I want to talk about. Now hopefully you're not feeling too called out right now with the examples I've given. And it is a little bit of a tell it as it is kind of episode. The next one, the thing that keeps us spinning our wheels and keeps us in that busyness cycle is the fear of letting go. We like to be in control, right? That's why we run our own businesses. We like to align all of our ducks and keep them in a row. And if we have to trust someone else to keep our ducks in order, well, maybe we'd rather do it ourselves. Delegating feels risky when your business is personal. Now, I see this often. Women grasping the wheel so tightly, they can't even let support in. Whether that support is their team, a mentor, a potential strategic alliance that could be really profitable, we stay small because we want to control. We don't want to let anything fall apart, so we stay operating at that same level for years. Growing means letting others help us. It means expanding to the point where you don't have to control every detail. But you know what? It's okay. Because when you let go of control, you realize that you have so much more time and energy for the fun stuff, for the exciting stuff, for the future planning and the strategy and the goal setting. But in order to get to that part, you have to let go a little. Give up the wheel. Take that grip off. Now, that doesn't mean you're not still the captain of this ship, but you're actually able to step back, get a better view, and then point your team, whether that is staff, suppliers, contractors, in the right direction. The last underlying piece I want to talk about here in this episode is the comfort that we feel when we are busy. Now, this is very common for any high-achieving woman. We tend to feel uncomfortable or even guilty if we don't pack our days with tasks. Been there. But even though we may be uncomfortable with the idea of being idle, that doesn't mean that we are just taking bounds forward. Because when something is new or uncomfortable or requires us to stretch, it's often easier to just stay in the motion of what we've always done, ticking boxes, getting the small stuff done, staying in our lane and doing our tasks, but not making those big moves. This is something that can come up all the time, and it's really important to train yourself out of the discomfort because it does come up all the time. This is something that I love that we talk about inside of Her Business. I had this just the other week and I had to catch myself. Now, we've got a 30-year anniversary coming up later this year at Her Business, which is incredibly exciting. And I can't believe this community has been thriving and growing and helping women for 3 decades now. But the planning of this anniversary activity, it's a lot. It's a big deal, and I want to give it the attention and the celebration it deserves. But I was almost having some decision paralysis around it. So I just circled and circled and ended up doing other things, admin tasks, making lists, tidying folders, not actually diving into the deep work of organizing how we're going to celebrate our 30th year. How to do the work that's going to move the needle. And I had to catch myself. Now, I'm not saying that admin work that I did wasn't hard, but there's a difference between a task being hard and a task that moves you forward. The hard thing isn't always the thing that will propel you forward. Now, let me give you an example. We've hosted business summits, 3 of them now. Each time we've had around 5,000 people register, which is incredible, right? But in terms of actual conversion to sales, that sort of event for us doesn't actually convert at a level to match the effort that we put in. Let me explain. Our summits have multiple speakers, sometimes over 12 speakers. We are building multiple landing pages. We're conducting interviews. We're editing interviews. We're sourcing images and social posts and designing hundreds and hundreds of assets, promoting across platforms. It is a lot to put on one of our business summits. From deciding on the speakers, researching the speakers, inviting the speakers, hearing back from the speakers, getting the bio from the speakers, getting the photos from the speakers, helping the speakers with their outline, getting the bio they want us to introduce them with, or finding a time that actually works for them, recording the interview, checking the interview, editing the interview, hosting the interview, writing the blurb for the interview. You get the idea, right? And you do that multiple times over, and that's just the interview part. That's not even the marketing of a business summit. I'm not trying to put you off if you're going to run a summit, but there's a lot of moving parts. Now, that same energy could be used so much more profitably if our goal was to get women to come into our Her Business world. And while we still love putting on that event, and we probably will again, because there's some part of it that I really love, there are many parts of it that I really love, our more targeted, smaller scale webinars actually convert into sales at much higher rates. Now, that doesn't mean the summits aren't valuable, but if the goal is moving the needle on members at Her Business, that's not the event that is the most impactful for us. But we have to boil it down to how you define progress. The thing is, it's not about doing all the things. It's not about crossing everything off your list. It's not about how late you worked or how many emails you sent. Progress is launching a campaign that truly aligns with your goals. That's why I gave you the example of the summit. The summit serves one of our goals, which I won't go into right now, but it isn't the best activity, the best use of our time and resources to serve another one of our goals. Because progress, as I said, is launching a campaign that truly aligns with your goals. Progress is improving your onboarding system so you retain more clients. Progress is growing your confidence in something new. So you've got to define what progress really means for you, because it'll be different for each business owner. The important piece is to focus on the tasks and projects that contribute to that feeling of, okay, I've made progress. Towards what? Towards your big goals. That's why when I started this episode, I was talking about the more clarity you have about where you're trying to go, the less you're going to spin your wheels, the less you're going to stay in the business trap, because you'll have some good whys, reasons why, to stay on track with the important work. Now, this is a conversation I love to have with women, and I'm really solid on this because I know how much time we can waste doing the unimportant things. But you know that feeling when at the end of your day you're thinking, whoo, that was a productive one. And then you know the feeling when you've worked 10 hours but haven't done anything substantial or meaningful, or another week goes by and that big project still hasn't been tapped into. Very different outcomes, right? So once you've defined what that progress entails, what gives you that feeling of progress, it's important to incorporate that into your planning, in setting your milestones. So before you get into any of the detailed daily work, first you want to start with that end goal in mind. What is your big goal of the year? That's what inside of Her Business we call our big kahuna goal, and we all set that as members. What is your big goal for this quarter? That's something we look at our quarterly strategy meetings. Or this month, and that might be a conversation that you have with your accountability group. Or this week, and we might look at that inside of our members group every week. And then what is my goal for today? All of those need to be aligned. Otherwise, your time can be wasted on things that don't ultimately move the needle. So to define what success looks like for you and then move towards that, that is what progress looks like. And don't forget, the priorities must include some self-care, some space to plan, time to think, not just tasks to do. And that's why in our year, in our Her Business year, we have these cycles of when we are more active, when we are less active, when we are focused on our marketing versus our systems versus our plans versus our technology versus our teams, and when we are looking to retreat in order to rise and make progress. The doing part of what we do is the least effective part of the progress. The transformation is in the thinking and the planning and being clear on our vision and our goals, and that takes giving yourself that space to plan, that space to think, getting yourself away from the day-to-day. And I like physically getting myself and other women away from the day-to-day in order to do this deeper work. And I use a very particular structure to plan this out, one that I swear by, one that we teach internally inside the Her Business Network. And to give you just a big picture of it, we start with our yearly vision. That's our big kahuna goal that I mentioned. Then we go into our quarterly objectives. What are the things we need to do each quarter to get to that big goal? And then each month and week, we break that into projects and then smaller milestones. And then on a daily level, we check in with the things that matter most today, on this day. And we devote entire planning days to this inside of the network. And it really helps with keeping things on track so that you're focusing on the projects that keep the momentum. So no more getting sidetracked or distracted by projects. No more spinning your wheels until you burn out. But here's something I've noticed. Once women put this system, our Her Business system in place, with a clear vision and goals mapped out, there is emotion that can pop up trying to set you back. And that emotion is actually guilt. Because even if you know what matters, even if it's in your calendar and you're making progress, you might still find yourself hesitating, second guessing, or feeling bad about not doing more. So let's talk about where that guilt comes from and what to do about it. Now, I can tell you there have been many times where I felt this myself, and people tell me all the time they experience it. And that's the feeling that you're not doing enough. Even though you're running a business, maybe raising a family, managing life, caring for others, making time for friends, making time for your partner, making time for everything, sometimes we can feel like we should be doing more. And that is simply an expectation that no one can live up to. You are doing enough. You are enough, just as you are. And remember that you are human. You're a human who deserves to be nurtured and cared for. And that pausing, stopping, is actually part of getting away from spinning your wheels. We can ditch that superwoman cape. It does not serve us all the time to be wearing it, 24/7. And expecting yourself to do it all is a recipe for disappointment and burnout. In order to do what you love every day, which is our tagline at Her Business, you have to be content with saying no, content with achieving your personal version of success, whatever that looks like for you, content with setting your boundaries and sticking to them. So what I would love for you to do is take a minute after you've listened to this episode and take 10 minutes and list your top priorities for this week if you don't have those listed already. I want you to do this without looking at your schedule or your to-do list. Just list what were the top 3 things that I could do this week to move my business and my life forward. Because you know them, your heart knows them without you looking at what's already in the calendar. Then you can look at the calendar and ask yourself, well, okay, where am I going to put these? What needs to move? Am I saying yes to something that I really want to say no to? Am I then, by omission, saying no to something that I really want to do? And remember, this isn't just about work stuff. You are the most important asset in your business. So one of your priorities this week could be taking care of yourself, whatever that means. For me, I've been saying for weeks and weeks that I want to book time to go to the bathhouse and get in the spa. I've bought these 5 sessions, get in the sauna, help my body while I'm on a running regimen. But a month has gone by, I still haven't done it. And it's not something I really want to do on the weekend. I want to find time in my work week when I can do this and not feel guilty about it. That is the key. That guilt is the hardest one to fight. Even though I know I'll be up early working, I'll be working when I get back, I still yet have to fight that part of me that makes me think it's not okay to spend my time this way. Why isn't it okay to spend 90 minutes in my day doing something for me, something that will make me feel energized and ready to tackle more projects? And so you have to fight that guilt. We both have to fight that guilt and not let it win. So what do you want to prioritize this week? What's your bathhouse experience? What's something that matters to you, your energy, your clarity, your joy that you've been pushing to the side? Because when you can show up for yourself, you'll be surprised how much that does for your work, for your ability to see clearly, and for the momentum you feel moving towards your goals. Now, as we close out this episode, I want to remind you that changing course is okay. If you realize you're off track and you've been off track for a while and you really are spinning, there's always space to get it right. Each and every one of us has spun out of control at times. It just takes small steps and actions as long as you've pointed yourself in the right direction to get to where you truly want to go. And I hope you will think about your 3 priorities this week and make sure you give yourself the time and space for them. Whether it's working on a big launch or catching up with an old friend or simply taking yourself to the spa. As I'm recording, I'm in Palm Springs in California, and actually for the next 2.5 days, I will be going to a resort that has spa facilities, so you can bet I'm going to be spending some time in a spa. So the focus and clarity is the key to stop spinning your wheels. So getting yourself into motion, into momentum, into the habit of moving forward in the right direction means knowing where you're heading. Now, if you want some resources on how to accomplish this through planning your strategy, we would love to have you inside of the Her Business Network if you're not already one of our gorgeous members. And you can join other women business owners who are on similar journeys, each trying to better themselves, their businesses, and create a life that they love every single day. We're going to put a link to how to join us over on our show notes page, where you'll find a summary of this episode. And that's over at herbusiness.com/306. And of course, if you want to head straight over and get the information to join us, you can head to herbusinessnetwork.com and you can join the waitlist, and we will send you an invitation to join when we next open the doors. Before I go, I want to say thank you. I always want to say thank you. I find that when I am grateful and I show my gratitude, it just comes back multiplied, which is not why I show my gratitude, but it works for me. So I'm going to show some gratitude right now to Justine Kirk from ISO Matters. Now, she helps micro and small business owners streamline their processes, manage risks, and build systems so that their businesses run smoothly, and so that as business owners, they have the freedom to focus on what matters most, very much like what we were talking here today. So she said this. She said, "This morning I walked just over 5 kilometers, caught a beautiful sunrise, and listened to a couple of episodes of my new favorite podcast, Her Business by Susie Daphnis. Today's podcast, episode 297, was about revisiting the products and services you offer and determining whether they are still right for you and your business. As small business owners, we only have so much time in our day. This morning I used my time to exercise both my body and my brain. Now to put my thoughts down so I don't forget them. And she's put a link to the podcast and a beautiful photo of herself out with the sun rising behind her. So Justine, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode or any episode of the show and you want to show me some love and the show some love, then head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or review, or like Justine did, just shoot me a direct message on Instagram. You'll find us at her business, or you can post and tag us at her business, any which way. We will put a link to what we discussed here today and any resources I mentioned at, once again, herbusiness.com/306. Now, if you're a new listener, then hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. We've got lots of great episodes coming up, and I hope to see you next week right here on the Her Business podcast. Bye for now.